So we've all read or seen last year that a large number of galleries closed around the world and parts of the art market slowed down. But what has been less observed is the sea change that this has given rise to and the opportunities that come with that. So let's dive in. I'm Aida Rigodaro, and here are my 2026 predictions for the art world. Firstly, with slowed speculation, which is people buying works with the sole purpose of quickly flipping or selling it on for a profit. This can pave the way for slower, more steady and sustainable growth for artists, instead of artists being overly hyped up and a bubble created around them that would inevitably burst when short attention spans look elsewhere. So it feels like a more authentic ecosystem for all the different stakeholders to be operating in, with still plenty of potential for growth and new audiences to be found. Another interesting evolution we will see in 2026 is the continued outward march of the art market, which, in terms of the biggest art fairs, auction houses, and revenues, has been focused on the US, London, and some other European capitals. Coinciding with changes in buying patterns, new markets are drawing established institutions and a collector base to them, and in particular the Middle East in 2026. I'll actually be spending a bit of time in the Middle East this year for both art consulting purposes and as I have some family in Dubai. To see what's happening art-wise in that region right now is really fascinating. Next month we'll see the first Art Basel in Qatar, and later Frieze comes to Abu Dhabi, with Art Basel and Frieze being the most powerful art fairs in terms of their star-making quality. That is big news. Last time I was in Abu Dhabi visiting the relatively recently established Louvre Abu Dhabi, I saw the nearby Guggenheim building in construction, and it looked like it was shaping up to be a spectacular building. Dubai is also building a big new museum. But one thing that struck me at some of these art spaces and museums in the Middle East is that, as well as the incredible scale, which made showing huge, impactful works of art feasible, the experience of being there was somehow elevated. In terms of the serenity of the structure, for example, in the Louvre Abu Dhabi, even down to the delightful restaurant terrace overlooking the water. Which brings me on to my next prediction, which is that art may move slightly away from its strong recent ties to commerce and become so much more about experiences. I'm increasingly finding that the places I most enjoy encountering artworks are outside the gallery and traditional museum framework. I love getting outside in nature to see art, for example, and there are so many more rural and outside settings emerging. One of the most recent of such settings I visited was Goodwood Art Foundation. But one of the more exciting art experiences that I can recall is actually an experimental art space called The Foundry in Maubeuge, run by the dissident Russian artist Andrei Malotkin, where he has repurposed an abandoned iron factory in rural southwest France, and now both creates and invites fellow artists to create quite radical artworks there. The times I visited, the artists, who have all built up the infrastructure over time, including now comfortable places to live, they prepared the most wonderful meal for me, and we were chatting for a really long time. There are also people from the Serpentine Gallery who were visiting at the time, including Uber curator Hans-Ulrich Obrist. So these far-away, unusual and experimental places are certainly drawing a really broad range of onlookers, including the so-called art world establishment, and I think all sorts of unusual experiences that are artist-led and collector-led, as well as gallery-led, will become standard places for the public to experience art. So that's it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and do like and subscribe if you fancy it for more adventures in art.